What's up, everybody? It's Ivan with Trouts Fly Fishing, back with 5 flies for November. This is like a 5 flies version 1.85. So we're almost there. This is a house, not a home quite yet. But excited to talk about 5. Well, actually, we're going to do 7 flies. This is coming out a little late, so we did some bonus flies for this month. We're going to talk about those flies with Russ Miller from Umpqua Feather Merchants.
7 flies.
That's right. Russ, noted angler of much esteem. And then Brandon. Brandon's back.
And then Brandon.
Yeah. Brandon's back.
Bookend Brandon.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, of course. Glad to have you back.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, we're sort of NPR style. We do have the fly tester. Obviously, we'll see how the studio comes together for the next episode, but excited to sort of explore this new format. And let's get it started, guys. So as it stands right now, we are almost mid-November. November is probably the biggest transitional month in the fall, as you start to get super cold, right? You start to get those, shorter days, longer nights, really cold overnight lows, and the water starts to cool down. So you have a less active fish, but you can still find some good streamer eaters. You can still find some blue wings. Midges are on the board. Russ, what do you most like about November?
You've got fish that are spawning. You've got fish that are post-spawn already. Some of them are pre-spawn, all depending on what kind of fishery you've got and where in the state you are. So, either pre or post, you've got fish that are really on the feed, and especially like what's bouncing around in the swim tank. Those are really, really fun to fish, and high protein meals for a lot of these brown trout, especially that want to chase, which is cool.
Cool. Brandon, you're noted not a big fan of cold weather fly fishing.
Extremely noted.
Can you get behind November though?
I can't get behind November. It's one of my favorite months. It's like you said, it's one of those transitional periods that I think everyone takes for granted because it's soon October and then all of a sudden it's December and it's 12 degrees outside. You don't want to go fishing and you'd much rather sit at home and drink whiskey and tie flies.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
Maybe, yes, I'll speak for myself there. Or, I was talking to one of our shop employees, Tad, today, and we were kind of getting on about how you started going into other hobbies, but there's still fish to be had out in the colder waters. You just got to take the time to find them and pick those holes.
That's an interesting choice of words, Brandon, but let's roll with it. All right, so obviously November's here. We're here. We're going to talk about some flies to get you through the month. We're also going to do some of those audience questions we talked about in the last episode. And I'll mention this now. If you have any questions about December, whether it be rigging, fly choice, presentation, whatever it might be, leave a comment down below. And if we pick you, you'll get a little Trout surprise pack. So we're gonna pick a couple, probably a couple every month. Try to deal with those questions, answer some questions about other ways to use these flies and all that sort of stuff. So let's get it started. We'll start with some streamers. All right, we're gonna start off with fly number 1. But before we do fly number 1, I think Russ needs a break in the studio. What do you got there, Russ?
I brought a banana. I think traditionally it's good luck.
Yeah.
Especially around the fishing community to bring some bananas. Yeah. And this seemed like a really big occasion for you guys. So I brought a banana. We could share it.
Hey, thank you so much.
We could all take bites off of it.
As you, the viewer, you could partake and enjoy a banana while you watch this. Great potassium and good luck.
Is that athletic tape at the top of that?
They're doing something to make them non-biodegradable now.
Gotcha.
I don't know what they're doing.
All right, well, crack that thing open, Russ. Let's get started.
Well, how do you open your banana is the second question. Oh,
well, when they get overripe, I want top guy.
It's a mushy banana. I can't do that.
Oh, really? Great like this.
I'm a banana twister.
Give me green.
Ruin your banana then.
Well, right, this is riveting stuff.
Well, cheers to the new studio, boys.
Yeah, people can't wait to hear you chew.
I'll get closer.
All right. Fly number 1 is the Baby Swim Coach. This is another Charlie Craven fly. This is in black and purple. So we're going to talk about the 3 streamer flies in the context of sort of swinging with either a single hand or with a trout spay rod, or versus like banging the banks. I'm a noted banging the banks guy, big banging the banks guy. Russ, a noted
throw it out there with both hands.
Yeah, snap tier.
Single spare.
Single spare. Oh,
yeah. Single switch guy.
Excuse me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Baby Swing Coach, I like it because it hits one of my big things. Is I like flash. I like black and I like flash. It has a good body. It swims nice, but it has the two things I like the most, which is flash. It's black and two hooks. It has two hooks. So I mean, you can swim this. You can fish this on a sinking line out of a boat. You can fish it on a long, longer leader. Maybe throw some split shot. I know that's not necessarily. It's sort of frowned upon in some circles, but it's certainly a way that I've found success. Is putting a couple split shot up there and letting it sort of get down first and then dragging it out. So I really like the Swim Coach. I've had success with it. If you've been watching the Rocky Mountain Fall videos. Tanner's been
Tanner likes that one.
Tanner's been mashing some fish with that one. So
there's a lot to like about it.
Big fan of the Swim Coach. Russ, what makes a good trout spay fly, and does this hit any of those marks?
Yeah, I think the Swim Coach is an awesome fly. It's one of my favorites, especially in the Craven line of streamers. It does have weight built into it, right? So it fishes really, really comfortably on your 6-weight. If you're not a 7-weight, big giant meat guy. And I think the baby size in particular is just so snackable, right? It doesn't put off the average size fish, and you still get the big ones that'll move forward as it carries just a great profile without a lot of mass. From a trout spay perspective, it's really fabulous because you can see it in the swim tank here. We're all kind of mesmerized by this thing. Yeah. It bounces around. It's got a ton of current. It takes a lot of its cues from those intruder style flies, right? Mm-hmm. Where they've got a lot of mass to them, but it's got a lot of profile without any mass, right? So you get all that movement. It comes out of the water easy. It'll move on that 3-weight, certainly anything in the 6-weight range. And it's available in 4 colors, which is really cool. We're swimming the black and purple, but you've got 4 other colors. You got baby whitefish, you've got baby brown trout, and you've got an olive. So you've really got it in everything. I'm a big fan of the Swim Coach, especially the baby.
Yeah, for sure. And to your point, it does cast easy, right? It doesn't hold too much water. There are other flies, let's say, that might use a little bit of rabbit strips. They get heavy.
Rabbit's gorgeous in the water, but when you're pulling it out and you have to control that mass on a single-handed rod, you notice it. Yeah. You notice it. Sometimes you get the spray.
Right.
You get a sore shoulder after the end of the day too.
Yeah, so that's a hard-earned day. It's a good day.
Right. And why not make your day a little easier, right?
Yeah, and still have a great time catching fish.
Right. Thing catches fish. So that's fly number 1. Brandon, before we move on, anything to add?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think Russ covered it very well from a 2-handed rod perspective. The only thing I would probably add is that what you see here in the tank is that tied on one of those no-slip mono loops. So those are kind of the way I like to tie my streamers. I learned that a while back when I first got it started out. So just a quick little tip. Maybe if you wanted to get it down deeper, a little piece of split shot above that no-slip mono loop. Yeah. Great way.
Those loop knots help it swim a little easier. Yeah. It's a little bit. This is another sort of pivot point to say.
I'd be curious to know if your audience ever ties any of their nymphs on that same loop, because that's another little winter trick that gives you a lot of extra movement to a fly. As we're getting into those colder months, more winter water, you can get those low flows, those midges still moving all sexy in those little loops.
That's a pretty hot tip. That's some paywall content right there, Russ.
Yeah.
Anytime, guys.
Good.
I mean, we're going to talk about this later, Russ. You can save those hot tips for later.
Forget you heard anything.
All right, so that's fly number 1. Let's get to fly number 2. Fly number 2 is Jeff Hickman's Skittish smolt. Russ, Jeff Hickman's a big swing guy, is he not?
Yeah, Jeff's he's made his living in the anadromous world, from Alaska down to the Oregon coast, in BC, in between there on the Dean River, and this is one of those flies that just has such awesome crossover appeal. Originally a smolt pattern, right? And out migration of smolts, especially in those coastal regions, are just like it's the buffet coming down the river that all the fish are just like keyed in on. It's really great. In our world, in trout country, this just translates so seamlessly to small bait fish. And that's one of the really great things. We've got a ton of flash here, so it grabs our attention. You can fish it. I think I'm a lot like you. Flash, cloudy weather, I feel really confident. Bright sun, I feel really confident. And then you've got ostrich on top that just pulsates and moves really, really well. Bullet head, so it dives. You can fish it on that long leader. Again, a nice, light, easy one that just swims in the water. And especially from that, you want to put this on a two-hander and swing it. Just like the swim coach, these long fibers just move and dance, even in those really soft inside currents. And same thing when you're stripping this thing in, man, like bang it into the rocks. And as soon as it hits that fast current, you can just kill it. And you'll watch this thing just sit there and undulate in the current and get a grab. And you've got a underbody here, right, that shines through to give you a little extra jazz. Jeff Hickman's Skittish smolt is a really cool streamer pattern to play with.
I think one of my favorite things about this fly is that it has that bullet cone head. So whenever I'm fishing a fly that doesn't have dumbbell eyes and I want to get it down deep and kind of in quickly, I'll typically fish a bullet head or a cone head. So for me, this is kind of in that realm of what I like to fish whenever I'm fishing streamers, if it is not articulated and I want to get it down deep.
Not articulated. Whoa.
Yeah, that's a big statement there.
If it's not articulated.
Yeah, I know, right. You're implying that not articulated flies don't work or you don't like them. Look, I'm a
big beat man.
I've been fishing that fly and sort of begging Rick to bring this fly in for a couple of years because I used to fish this when I lived up in Montana on the Missouri. The Headhunters guys were huge fans of this.
Yeah.
This and the Kreelex, they were two go-tos, right? And I did a little bit of two-hand stuff there, but even fishing out of the boat, banging the banks, maybe doing this as a tandem rig. So having this and then having a small black fly, like a little woolly bugger, or maybe throwing a Kreelex on the back.
Even a cool little soft tackle.
Right, a soft tackle or something like that. You can fish this in a variety of ways, whether you're banging the bank, swinging, a long sort of flat run or something like that. You're trying to work structure, with that cone head, it gets down. Big fan of Skittish smolt. The one thing I do wonder, I don't know if this is a good question to ask on air.
Ask it.
Can we get a articulated version of the Kreelex, please? And the Skittish smolt? Like give me 2 hooks.
How many of y'all guys want that? That's probably the more important question.
Give me more flash. I don't know how it would swim. I don't know how it'd be tied. But I feel like it'd be easy. I stink at tying those, so maybe that's my problem.
Yeah, I got some ideas for that. That makes sense.
Brandon, get on that. That's your assignment.
That's what happens during the wintertime.
The one thing I'll say, I think articulation's cool. It adds a little extra movement, a pivot point that can really make the rear of the fly dance. One thing the Skittish smolt does have going for it, the hook that it's tied on gives a little extra. So short strikes, it's a 3X long hook. Short strikes, you've at least got something on the back end. But yeah, man, articulating that thing might be cool.
I think it'd be awesome. Awesome. All right, cool. That's fly number 2. All right, fly number 3 is the Kreelex. This is in gold and copper. I'm a huge fan of the Kreelex. Again, I mentioned the Missouri. They love this fly in the Missouri as well. But I think, like you said, if there's a flash on a fly, it immediately gives me confidence. It immediately gives me confidence in the darkest of days, in the brightest of days. It looks like I don't want to say it, but it looks like a spoon.
Absolutely. It's the closest thing you can get in our world.
Right. And is it a fly? Yes.
1,000%.
Wholeheartedly believe it's a fly, but it looks flashy. When I'm stripping a streamer, if I see a flash and it's the fly and it's not a fish, that gives me confidence.
Still feel good.
That gives me a lot of confidence actually, because it's like if I catch it out of the side of my corner of my eye, like ooh, oh, and then it's just my fly. Ultimate confidence.
I think one of my favorite things about flash in general is that when you are fishing it from the boat and you have that perspective on it, you can see this the whole time. So you understand what your fly is doing. You can move it differently and more appropriately, so you're able to really maximize what you're doing with each cast. This is a Chuck Craft fly. Chuck is no longer with the angling community, but the origin story of this is awesome, and I don't know if you guys have heard it, but this came to Chuck in a dream one evening. And the first Kreelex tied was tied in his underwear. And he originally wanted to call it the Rolex because of all the bling, but he thought Kreelex was a little bit more appropriate.
I like that.
So it's got a great story behind the fly. It's super fishy. And yeah, from a swing perspective, right, rides hook up. So when you are on those inside currents, you get hung up less and everything like that, and you're hooking fish in the good part of the mouth. And, really kind of takes that Clouser minnow platform and builds upon it. It's a cool little bug.
I think for me, it comes down to the simplicity, right? And whenever you look at saltwater flies and some of the flies that we've talked about today, they're so simple in their patterns. There's nothing crazy to them. It is simply just a little bit of flash and a pair of dumbbell eyes on a 3X long hook. Like, that is all you need. You don't need to get super crazy with your streamers.
Or sometimes you do.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah, I mean, look at the swim coach.
Exactly, but it's something, when you compare the Kreelex to the swim coach, this one might even work better.
It's all about confidence, from my perspective.
Sometimes simple is the most confident for me.
I
love simple patterns.
It's a flashy. Absolutely. It's a flashy clouser.
Yeah,
100%.
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's a reason why there's so many versions of the clouser.
Right. So that's fly number 3. All right, so we're going to take a quick break from talking about the flies, and we're going to answer some of the questions you guys put in the comments last episode. So we're going to start with 2 this month, and then next month we'll do 2 to 3 every time, depending on how many flies we choose, because this is going to be a lengthy episode. We can already tell. So number 1, the first question is from Nathan Sopena. So Nathan, we will be in contact with you for your Trouts prize pack. We'll get that in the mail. He asks, as the month continues as we enter November, what time of day are midges and blue-wing olives usually hatching? And when do the browns start chasing eggs? We have eggs, little preview. We have egg pattern coming up.
Spoiler alert.
I don't want to, it's a dirty fly, but it works. It works this time of year. But what time of day are you typically seeing midges and blue-wings, Russ?
Oh boy, there's no absolute in that answer.
That's true.
I'm sorry to say. Typically, right, if I had to generalize, I would say I'd be seeing midges at my warmest part of the day, and that's really going to kind of depend on cloud cover and sunny weather. Midges are kind of great. I love when they hatch in the super bright sun. And then your betas, man, it really depends on your fishery, and then again, what kind of cloud cover you've got. Typically, we don't see those on those bright sunny days. So if you're going out and bright sun, I'd be thinking about hopefully dry fly midges. And if you get kind of that cloud cover, and you had that cloud cover overnight, so it kind of kept the overnight temperatures up, I'd be really thinking about fishing betas as we get into that kind of the peak of the day as far as temp goes.
Yeah. No, that's sort of like the stuff you see on the surface. I'm a huge fan of cloudy days and blue-wings. We're going to be running out of those days as we move through November, right? And this episode is probably coming out at the tail end of most of those blue-wing hatches. But
keep that note for spring.
But they'll still be present subsurface. Do you put them on do you put mayflies, small mayflies, blue-wing olives on your nymphing rig during certain times of day in through November and into December? Do you cycle that in, trying to find when they might be active and might be hatching? Are you sort of leading in, like as a hatch might be ramping up, are you putting on those flies? What's your strategy with choosing mayflies as we move through November?
Did a question for me?
Yeah, that's a question.
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. That's why I was hoping someone else would get it.
I saw that deer in the headlights. You're like,
Trying to think of the answer. The best answer I could come up with is I would always put on a betas over a midge. And I'd say that because simply, let's think of a fishery like Cheeseman, right? It's just more hook. And you've got big fish, you've got fish that have a high level of fitness. Like I just want more purchase in that fish's mouth. And a betas, you're going to be able to upsize that probably 2 hook sizes over a midge, potentially 4, depending on really, if you're going to go full Dorsey and go for 24s and 26s, or if you're going to, you could play 18s and potentially like a really slender 16, right? So that would be my answer, is I'd put that on. And if you're getting not a lot of feedback, right, they're all eating the midge, I'd probably go double midge.
Yeah. So as a general approach, you're starting as big as you can and
working backwards. Yeah, you bet.
Now you guys will see this in an upcoming episode of Reading Water with Russ. We did on the Eagle is the Euro edition.
That was a fun.
The man likes to change flies. There's not a quicker draw in the West than old Russ Miller. That guy got the flies at the ready. He's changing them, tying the knots. He's back in. Like for me, I'm going to take the more slow and steady approach. Yeah. I'm the tortoise. Not to say that the hare doesn't probably beat me every time in the game, but I'm going to probably throw three nymphs. I'll probably throw like an attractor fly at the top, a blue wing, and then throw a midge. So I'll take the slow and steady approach and just hope it works.
Yeah, until you blow up in a tree like I did like 4 times.
Right, and then caught like 8 fish in an hour.
If you're ever wondering how often you should change flies and you watch Russ fish, you should be changing your flies a lot more.
Right. I don't think I've got ADD, just to be clear.
All right.
I'm changing because it just didn't work.
Yeah, but the confidence that you got the right drifts, that's impressive. And I think that's admirable, right? Like,
or it's totally foolish. I don't know which one.
It clearly works, though. It works for you.
Could have fooled me.
You got your style. I think sort of we're riffing a little bit off of Nathan's question, but there's certainly a personal style to fishing, right?
No question.
There's the guy who sort of sticks to it. He knows this works. He'll find his rhythm. He might switch up over the course of the day, and that guy will find like a pocket of, and that's usually me. He'll find a pocket of success, and then there's a guy who will, he will figure out the formula, and that's you, I think. And you're better at fishing than me, I think.
Different, right? Like I think Pat D's a perfect example, right? He goes in and he's so familiar with his water that when he's in there, it's like these are the flies, and I've got probably 6 options I might rotate through in my day. And when you're that familiar, it becomes a lot easier. When we did that episode, dude, I hadn't fished the Eagle since it was summer. Yeah. And so like I change flies so often because I've got to figure it out. Like I've got a thing in my head that I think and I hope works. And then you put it through the test and you're like, well, that did not work.
Yeah.
Change. And so that's where, and again, it comes down to your familiarity and really your style and how much effort you want to go to. I will say that you get comfortable changing flies often, you're not afraid to lose them, and you fish differently as a result of that.
For sure. All right, we're going to move on to question number 2. This is from Tom Yucca. He wants to know when to add weight, when to choose, or if he should be choosing properly weighted nymphs, and does he need an attractor fly? Brandon, are you a add more weight guy, or are you a fish the flies weight guy?
I'll fish the flies weight for sure. And like we were just talking about how you kind of are like the slow and steady tortoise before you change flies. I will fish that flies weight until I should have changed or added weight 5 or 6 drifts ago. So that's kind of how I like to fish. It's more so of a trusting in my fly, like that confidence and that trust in my fly to get down deep. And then, when I don't get anything after 6 or 7 drifts, I should have changed or added weight 2 drifts ago.
For sure. Now, Russ, coming from the Euro game, you are a stickler for weight. You've got all your flies right, like size 16 Paragon, for example. You've got like 3-4 different weights in that, right?
Yeah, you bet.
So that's a different style, obviously, than the traditional nymphing rig.
I think that a lot of the same principles apply to answer a question a little bit more directly. I would say, when is it time to change weight? It's very dependent on your spot. And if you're putting your flies through there and, we're able to visually see a fish kind of hugging the bottom, and every now and then you don't touch the bottom, you should add some weight. Like you should be able to find the bottom with your rig and then just pull it back that 10% to like know that you're right above it, or, that's my take on it.
With like a more traditional bobber nymph rig, I used to be in the school of like just add more weight, and I've grown as a man in weight, and also in how much weight I use on my flies. Right, so I will choose flies where I want to, what portion of the water column I want to fish them in. I'll choose that fly to be. So we have a couple flies coming up, like the WD-40. That's not a weighted fly. I'm not going to throw that and then throw a ton of weight on top of it because it's not going to act like it's supposed to act. You're getting an unnatural presentation with that fly. So fishing the fly to the portion of the water column you want to be in, I think that's been a strategy that's worked for me in the past or in current times. So there we go. All right. That's the little question segment. I thought that went all right.
Done.
Check
Great.
that off the list. So again, leave comments in the bottom if you guys have any questions about December fishing, rigging, fly choice, presentation, what my pant size is. Just put it down there.
After Christmas.
Look, man, it's been a pretty rough fall.
Holiday challenge.
It's been a rough fall.
Over, under.
Well, you just got to guess how many pounds you put on to the holidays.
I'll take the over. Unfortunately.
Oh, man.
Shit. All right, so let's get to nymphs, some nymphs and dries. Fly number 4 is the WD-50. That's a Mark Angler pattern Russ. This is a good Baetis nymph. What do you like about it?
I think the cool thing about the WD-50, if you don't have these in your box, the thing to like about it is it really does a great job of imitating that emergent phase of the bug, right? Where we've really got that larva phase, and the 40, the 50 brings in that emergent, an enlarged thorax. Again, time of day, if you're starting to see the beginning of a hatch, it'd be the perfect time to put on a WD-50. And it just says, like, let's get going, and you can fish it a little higher in the column, potentially behind a dry fly even. It doesn't have to be on that deep nymph rig. Yeah.
The flies we chose in the nymph stages for this month, you'll notice there's not a lot of weight added to them. We'll save the weighted midge and Baetis flies for December and January, February, when those fish are glued to the bottom. The fish are going to be a little bit more active in November. They're going to be moving a little bit more. So WD-50 is a great option for those Baetis hatches. So, all right, let's get to fly number 5. Fly number 5 is the purple Copper John. I believe this is a size 22. So shout out to John Barr. Copper John's obviously a staple in a fly box. You don't see a lot of the smaller ones though in people's fly boxes, and I think it's an underrated fly to have in the fly box. Especially this time of year. If you're fishing 2 or 3 small bug or like a smaller rig in general, this is a really good second fly in your 3-fly rig. It'll help everything get down a little bit deeper if those fish are not as active. Russ, what do you like about the white biots?
I think they're just a little trigger, right? Like it's a little maybe something for the fish. Like, is that an emergent, gas bubble? Is it something I've never seen before? I just got to put my lips on it as a trout. And I think the other really awesome thing about a Copper John is they're not overly heavy, but they do carry weight, and so you get a lot of movement out of your rig without bogging it down with a ton of weight. It's a staple for a reason, and purple's one of those colors that I don't know why it works, man, but it just seems to get it done a lot of days.
Nice. Do you agree?
I mean, I agree totally, and I think this would be a good opportunity for you guys to use that no-slip loop as well.
There you go.
Be a great one on that fly, absolutely.
Brandon is channeling his inner Terry Gross over there. When he leans in, it's great. It's the best. Fly number 6. It's a bit of a controversial topic in the world of fly fishing. Controversies last a long time in fly fishing. I'm sure this has been talked about for eons because our sport moves slow. It moves slow. It's the flash tail mini egg in salmon. This is size 18, so it's a smaller egg than you'd normally fish. Russ, are you an egg guy?
I'm an egg guy. There's nothing wrong with it. My perspective on eggs, living in the Pacific Northwest, the rivers breathe life into themselves when they have fish in them, and those fish are there to deposit eggs. Eggs become a absolutely massive food source for the fish. And I don't think you can look down on that. It's like when we have a great salmon fly hatch. That's a huge source of protein for these fish that are going to get them through the summer. And no one looks down on that. Are they effective? Absolutely. And I think anytime you get a fly that's really effective, people are going to want to talk about it and pull it back. But again, from a different perspective, when you see these eggs in the system And it's the same thing up in Alaska, man. Fish are absolutely keyed on them. And the mini egg, I think, is something, especially in this kind of water year we're having, it's not a big glow bug that looks like a yarn ball coming down at them, right? It's not something where a fish is going to exit the pool when they see it coming down. It's subtle, it's round. They're going to want to eat it.
Yep.
And it works. I mean, there's something to be said about a fly that works that a lot of people love.
Everyone wants to catch a couple fish.
Everyone wants to catch a couple fish. There's nothing wrong with it. It's popular for a reason. And it's an easy tie.
Yeah. Also, it's a great attractor fly. So
Absolutely.
even if they're not eating the egg, there will be times on the South Platte where fish will get turned off of eggs. And they will run the other way when they see an egg pattern coming down. We are not in one of those times.
It's egg season.
This is egg season. Fish will, like I've had fish move in Cheeseman Canyon, and this is not an exaggeration. I've had a fish move 20, 25 feet downstream and ate it like a carp eating like a
Big old slurp.
It was, I was very confused. I was a confused young man, and it was cool. It was as though he was eating a streamer. It was hilarious. But eggs work. They do. And it's a good attractor pattern if you're putting on an egg and then dropping 2 smaller flies behind it. That they might not eat the egg, but they'll certainly take a look at the smaller stuff behind it. So I'm an egg guy.
I think the last thing I'd say about eggs, and I think this is probably why they're somewhat controversial, is that you can do eggs wrong, right? And when we are in spawning season, we're seeing fish actively on reds, and they're digging their beds, and they're gonna deposit the eggs in their nest. Like, that's the wrong time to fish an egg, the wrong place to fish an egg. I just wanted to clarify that, and I think that's why the eggs get a bad rap, is because you can do them in an inappropriate way that isn't exactly at the top of the ethics list.
Yeah. That's a very important distinction, Russ. I appreciate that. Fly number 7. So a lot of you guys asked in the comments to see streamers, nymphs, and dry flies, and taking that into consideration. Fly number 7 is Quigley's cluster. It's a great midge cluster fly. Midges will be hatching in November. You should have cluster flies in your box.
Absolutely. And I think Bob Quigley is one of those guys that just lived his life in the film.
And that's good. Yeah.
And takes kind of a classic pattern and really modernizes it and makes it ultra fishy. Big fan.
Yeah.
Big fan. Gotta have fly.
Yeah, for sure. How would you dress this fly, Russ?
Great question. I'm a big pre-treatment guy, right? So the Shimasaki liquid, I dip it in there, I'd let it dry. I've kind of been getting in this routine lately, which I'm in love with, pre-treating my stuff. So like if I know I'm going out and expecting to fish and dries, I will treat them the night before and load them up into my kind of like top row. This is where I want to be fishing. And you don't have to do anything then. Yeah. Pre-treat them and then go. But if you're on the water and you're seeing it happening, I'm a liquid guy to start, and then I like dressing it with my Shimasaki powder.
Nice.
Like that.
Nice. Cool. Brandon, you have anything to add about midge clusters?
I mean, who doesn't like fishing dry flies in colder months? I mean,
it's true.
There's something to be said about it. We were trying to fish dry flies towards the end of our filming day, and I mean, it's always fun seeing fish rise.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially in the low light.
Low light, colder weather, and it just kind of gets you excited. I don't know. It only takes
a
one.
lot of nymphing ahead.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of nymphing ahead.
It can get super techie though, right? Like they'll be in the slowest of water, right? The slowest of water, they'll be rising the smallest of flies on the smallest of tip, and there's a challenge to that. And I think it's a worthy challenge this time of year for sure.
Yeah, just like a rigging tip I just leave some viewers with is like, as you go out and you're gonna go chase fish in that water type, there's a reason people make longer leaders and finer leaders, right? It allows you to keep a little bit more distance from the fish. It allows your presentation to be a little stealthier. One of my favorite things to do when we're talking about dressing is take like Dry Magic and run it down my leader and just leave the last 18 inches or so untreated. And it just keeps everything riding high. You're going to be able to pick up your line quieter. You're going to be able to mend more accurately. The water tension bogs it down a heck of a lot less.
Nice. It's a great tip to end the show on.
Last thing I'd say about November in general, it's one of the, as an angler who's going to fish 12 months out of the year, it's like your second month. It's really the first month that you start to get the rivers back to yourself. It's kind of like the little clan out there. Everyone who's out there in November really is out there in December, January, February, March, April, May. Yeah. Like it's a great time to go out and explore your rivers and definitely take along these 7 flies.
Yeah, there we go. So you can find those flies online at the shop, Trouts Denver. Feel free, like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the videos. Russ, we appreciate you coming down. Excited to see how all these videos end up going. You know, this is a little bit of a looser format, but enjoyed talking with you guys about flies for November. I hope you guys enjoyed as well. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you very much, Vaughn and Trouts. And
goodbye, world.